Get stuck on there. There we go.
Alrighty. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paige Ross, and I'm currently the OKIE811 board president. And I am very happy to welcome you all here today. I hope you're enjoying your lunches. And we are going to go ahead and call our annual meeting to order. As we get started here, I want to introduce some of our board members. If you'll give a wave, I'd appreciate it if you're here in person. Some of them weren't able to join us in person and are joining virtually, but Nicole Rhodes is our board vice president. Richard Forney, our board treasurer. Tux Jackson, board secretary. Terry Anderson, Greg Clarkson, Bob Porter, and Chris Breeding. As we look at our overall structure and strategy for how we make OKIE811 successful, we are adding 2 new board members that are incoming. Tim Young, representing some of our municipalities, and Marty Hayes, representing some co-ops to our board. And at this time, I get to kind of go through a year in review. And so it's been a pretty big year in damage prevention and for OKIE811. We've had a lot of focus on how we can help addressing issues with late locates. Lots of people continue to have issues with that, and trying to educate on what that challenge is and how do we manage that volume. The blessing we have is that there's a lot of activity happening in the state of Oklahoma, and we're really excited about that. The challenge is trying as operators to keep up with that volume. So we've implemented multiple process improvements that have helped reduce the number of outbound locate notices that go to our operators. And so as we refine those processes, we've been able to reduce our ratio of the outbound notices from 6.09 to 5.68, which is about 450,000 locates, fewer locate notices going to our operators. So again, highlights for this year, we've had a record locate year. You guys might have felt that as the operators. And we continue to see an increase. There was a 1.1% increase over 2021. We had 1,189,505 inbound locate tickets. It's our second million-plus ticket year, and 6 out of 12 months last year were record locate ticket months. Overall, we reduced 6.5% on our outbound notices to members. We already kind of mentioned that. We also saw a pretty big reduction happen when we started asking, why are we updating our tickets? And so as we started to ask excavators why they're updating that, we started to find out more about what those processes were, and some people weren't actually doing work in that time frame, and so those tickets went down as well. Other successes we saw a 96.8% employee retention within the OKIE811 staff, so it's a great place to work. It's also named the top 2022 top workplace, and I see at the bottom. If you were lucky enough to try the 811 Mexican lager, it was our second year to create our 811 beer to raise awareness for the 811 day, 811 before you dig. Anybody here get to try that? Show of hands. So thank you to our OKIE811 staff for coordinating that effort. It's usually a pretty fun event and effort to raise awareness, so thanks for that. We saw a 1% or a 1.02% increase in our automated tickets. So now we're seeing 76.5% of our tickets are being created electronically, and that's alternately, we're seeing less than 25% of our tickets getting called in. So that's a great success in automation of that process. We also have been working to achieve the 6-month operating reserve goal. So we've got $2.7 million in our investment account to manage that for any issues or concerns that may come up. So great year overall, and thanks so much for everybody that's had an effort and a role in that. So another big endeavor that we have went through in this conversation on how do we continue to operate well as a board, as an 811 center, and promote damage prevention. All of those things went into account. We started looking at how our bylaws are structured and how do we engage the right level of membership and operators and representation in the conversations that guide us. And so We've gone through several things within our bylaws that people are voting on today or by proxy in advance. So we've combined some changes on our membership. So we used to have a general membership and associate membership. We are no longer having that. We have just the general membership. We looked at how we vote, and a lot of the large ticket volume votes could sway the overall vote. And so we've changed that voting structure to allow better representation overall for all operators. And so there's a voting structure for 1 vote per general member, and then it's weighted by the total tickets for that type of facility. So trying to get a better balance and representation for all operators participating in the 811 process. We also looked at the board of directors. And so right now we have the ability to expand our board of directors up to 10. And that's what you see with Marty and Tim being added to the board. But we also wanted to make sure we had the right balance in planning and structure. So we are requiring the board of directors to be in good standing to vote. We're increasing the number of potential board members up to 16. And then we're establishing some other categories. So there's appointed directors, elected directors, and ex officio directors. So we're trying to make sure the whole value stream of value chain of the damage prevention life cycle is included, from excavators to operators. And then also requiring that companies that hold the board seats be a general or sustaining member. You must be active in 811 to be on the board in that category. So we also had up for election 2 new board seats. So those ones we showed, and then we have 4 being re-elected at this point in time, 2 pipeline, 1 electric, and 1 telecom. So with that, I'm going to introduce Nicole Rhodes, our board vice president, and she's going to handle the final vote count.
Good afternoon. So this is going to be our final call for votes. So they are due now. The link is up on the site, but if you guys would go ahead and submit your votes, and then we'll provide an update at the end of the meeting on what the outcome was. Thank you.
Okay, if I could have Angie and Joel join me. So for those of you that don't know who we are, we're the leadership team for OKIE811. My name is Susan Bowl. I'm the executive director of OKIE811. Joel Welch is the director of operations. So he oversees our contact center, our GIS, and our IT operations. And then Angie Niemeyer is our director of business and education services. So she oversees our excavator education programs, marketing, member services, and all the fun things that go with HR and accounting. So we wear multiple hats. We are a nonprofit organization, so you find us doing all the different things that most companies have one person doing. So great team. I appreciate all that they do. I did want to go through just some highlights, and they're going to share some highlights with you of their particular areas of the organization. We have our key performance indicators that we measure quarterly and report to the board what our successes are with our key performance indicators. Hopefully it's successes. Sometimes we get into the yellow if we haven't met something. But at the end of 2022, we did successfully reach all of our goals of our key performances. Service uptime and availability is a big deal at a one-call center. We are a 24/7 shop. We have to be able to take locate requests and issue out notices 24/7, 365 days a year. So it's very important that our systems are up, that we have staff on, that we have the ability to take those locate requests and process them. So we measure service uptime. Our goal was 99.95%, and we ended the year at 99.96%. So we did exceed our goal of keeping our services available and up. There are times we have to do maintenance things on our systems that cause us to not have that availability 100%. Employee retention is another thing we measure. We want to make sure we're focused on retaining our great employees and our great talent at the 811 Center. So this year, our employee retention rate was 97.2%. I think we lost 2 people that went to work for Amazon or somewhere to make more money, of course. But we try to make it a great place to work, and we really focus on engagement with our staff to hopefully retain them and keep them engaged. Agent safety. This is we measure how safe a ticket is. We have a QA department that reviews the locate requests that we take over the phone or by electronic means. And we review those tickets to make sure the directions are correct, the polygon was marked correctly, the information on the ticket is holistic, and we review a percentage of all the tickets. And of those, we try to strive for a very high goal of safe tickets. For our agent safe tickets, we ended the year at 99.2%. Excavator, we have excavators that directly enter tickets into our ticket management system. It keeps us from having to keep hiring more people and upping our rates for the members. So we've actually trained excavators to enter their own tickets. We have quite a few excavators entering their own tickets now, especially the ones that submit lots of tickets. And we also quality assure and quality check their tickets, and their tickets were at 97.3% safe tickets. Damage prevention education, we focus a lot on educating excavators about the safe digging practices, about using the 811 system, about making sure that they're following the 5 steps to safe digging. So we measure how many people did we reach, how many excavators did we educate, either through a webinar that we attended that we went with them. We measure based on these kind of events that we offer. We measure based on 811 certifications that are completed. We actually educated over 5,200 excavators in 2022. Impact on education, that's how well was that education received by the people taking it. So on a scale from 1 to 5, we ended up with a 4.35 on how well that education was received. Excavator satisfaction, we do ask our excavators how the experience was when they called in their locate request or submitted it online. And we'd like to get feedback from them about how can we improve that process, our agents customer service friendly and things like that. So we ended up with a 4.45 out of a possible 5 on excavator satisfaction. Most of the complaints we get are the lines weren't located on time, we didn't make it out on the dig site correctly. Like, well, we are not the locators, we're not the ones that are going out and marking the lines, we're the notification center. Member satisfaction, we want to hear from our operators, we want to hear about how well we're doing for you. So we send out a survey to our members and ask, how are we doing? How is our service providing that, our services that we give to you? And we ended up with a 4.52 on a scale from 1 to 5. Employee engagement, we ask our employees, how satisfied are you with your employment at OKIE811? Are you, and we ask for feedback, what can we improve upon to make sure that you get what you need in your employment here? And we ended up scoring a 5.1 out of a possible 6. Process improvements, I really love that we are focused on continuous process improvement. We don't want to be complacent to, oh, well, that's the way we've always done it. Let's not change the way we're doing it. We're constantly looking at how can we make improvements for our operators and our members, as well as the other stakeholders that engage with 811 Center. We've had a goal of completing 20 process improvements last year. We actually exceeded that and completed 26 process improvements. And we did end up measuring our expenses under budget. So we were under budget on our expenses by $166,000 last year. Some information on our financial standing. We really budget conservatively and we spend conservatively. We ended the year with a $432,000 net revenue, which was more revenue than we had in expenses. That also contributes to the 6-month operating reserve that we were building and that we had a goal to build, and we achieved that last year. And the number one reason we're so far under budget was there was quite a few IT initiatives and projects that we had geared up for 2022 that we ended up moving to 2023. so we didn't actually get them done. And then we ended up spending less on our telecom services and our internet. Thank you, Cox, for not charging us as much as we used to have to pay. So we ended up under budget on that, and then office supplies and postage that we did not use. So all in all, I feel like we're very sound in our financials. We also have an external auditor that reviews our financials and does an audit every year. And that the findings of that audit said the same thing, that we're very sound financially and we have a good budget process. This year, or I want to say it was probably in December, we convened a new council called the Damage Prevention Coordinating Council. This primarily birthed out of the need to let excavators have a voice to air their complaints and their frustrations and have somebody listen to them and hear from them what their needs are and what their issues are. So we came up and decided we need a council, a group of stakeholders where they can come together and tell us what they need and tell us what their issues are, without always running and trying to change the going to legislation and trying to change the law. Let's see what we can do without doing that to address the issues. So we birthed this Damage Prevention Coordinating Council. Gerald and I are going to be doing a session about this tomorrow at the expo, and going into more detail about what the issues are that we're hearing and what we're trying to do to address those issues. There is some legislation that's taking place right now. If you all are not aware, Senate Bill 497 is making its way through the Capitol right now. There's two things that are happening in that bill. One of them is being driven by AT&T to enable communication providers the ability to dig within 12 inches of their pedestal, no more than 12 inches deep, without putting in a locate request. There's been back and forth discussions around how safe is that? Will there be more damages by that happening? But all in all, I think all the stakeholders have said it's not that big a deal. We don't feel like it's going to create that many more damages. Let's go ahead and run with that legislation. So that is one of the things that's happening in that particular bill. Another part of that bill is defining the design and survey notice. There's no definition for that in our law right now. It's really frustrating for engineers who are trying to decide where they're going to put underground infrastructure when they put in a design request and they don't get a response back from the operators on where they should or shouldn't be putting in underground facilities. So this particular area defines what a survey design notice is, and it also says the facility operator or their designee must respond to that design notice within 14 calendar days with either marks on the ground or maps. So they have to respond back. Now, there's a definitive timeline to make that happen. It also is putting in a requirement that the operators provide the one call with who your design engineer person is in your company, so we can send that notice to that person so they know somebody is planning to do some underground infrastructure installations or improvements, and that person needs to get in contact with that other engineer of the excavator company and figure out where's the best places to put that underground infrastructure. So it'll send a notice to the operator, and it'll send the notice to the design engineer, and it puts those two people in contact with each other. The design ticket and notice is not a dig ticket. They can't dig under that ticket. It's just a notice to let the operators know there's design planning going on and to respond with maps or marks on the ground. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Gerald, who's going to give you some information about our contact center operations and our GIS and IT operations.
Awesome. Thanks, Susan. You guys got a lot of these numbers earlier. Paige did a really good job covering the majority of them. Like we said, last year was a 0.3% increase over the year prior, which 2021 was actually a 22.3% increase over the year prior to that. So we're operating at some pretty high levels as an industry. There's a lot of excavation going on in Oklahoma, and hopefully a lot of safe excavation going on in Oklahoma. But overall, through different things that we've done, we have seen that a major reduction in those outbound notices. This is the idea there is making sure that that locate request is timely and specific and necessary. We continue to try to look for ways to carve out any waste in the system. We want to make sure that the notices that you get are the notices that you need to respond to. So a big part of that comes down to mapping. Your mapping is absolutely key. Not having service areas overmapped, whether you're putting things in with quarter sections or things like that. We'd much rather have some center line data for any of your facilities to then put responsible buffers on, which is up to your call as well. But that helps mitigate a lot of some of those unnecessary notices that go to you guys. But we also have trimmed down the worksite buffer, as you guys know, and so that's had a big impact as well. Paige mentioned some things that we've done to the update ticket process, and we've got more stuff coming that we'll talk about later. But specifically, we've heard over and over, people are updating this, they're not digging. And so we have put a lot of validations in place to help mitigate that for you guys and cut down on unnecessary workloads. So compared to last year, 2021, we saw 43.9% of the total tickets that we took were updates. And we saw a pretty strong reduction in that already over the last year with 38.9% of the total. So really, really excited about that and hope to continue to drive that down as long as we're continuing to focus on safety and that any of the locate requests are necessary. Damage reports for 2022. These are damage reports that are reported to us directly. You may remember that the state law now does require excavators to notify the operator and OKIE811 anytime there's a damage. This is one of those things that I feel like a lot of people still don't know about, and we're working to try to make excavators more aware of what the requirements are there. So far, for 2022, the overwhelming majority of those damage reports did reference valid tickets, which is pretty interesting. It really comes down to a whole lot of other factors, but one of the biggest ones is just unsafe or insufficient excavation practices. You kind of see a little breakdown of how many on each type are actually created. Overwhelmingly, normal, regular locate requests are where we see those damages. Of course, that is also the largest amount of locate requests, our single first time locate requests. Service area updates. We actually moved to a new tool. We call it the Service Area Editor that allows you guys to go in and draw your facilities or upload your maps. It's really simple to use. Anybody in here used it? All right, I got some good hands up. If you're interested to learn more about how to get your mapping in our system and how to use this tool, there's actually a session tomorrow where Troy and Tyler, some of our GIS gurus, will be kind of walking people through that and giving an overview on how to use that. And I think that's at 10:15 in Sooner A. So if you guys are going to be here tomorrow, I highly suggest it if you want to learn more about the mapping side of things. We continue to kind of see a reduction overall in service areas. And I know that sounds counterintuitive because there's a lot of stuff going in the ground, a lot of fiber and a lot of other things as well. But what we see is that these service areas are reduced because your mapping is getting better. It kind of goes back to what I said earlier on. We want to get you the right notifications, not all the notifications. We just want to get you the right ones. And so this is a big part of that. So love seeing that continue to go down while we know more facilities are going up. So turn it over to Angie.
Thank you, Gerald.
Okay, so just to give a little bit of information on our membership. We are currently at 1,392 members. We have several different classifications, facility types is how they are registered with us. And you can kind of see on this chart here the difference over year to year. So currently I think we're at like a 1% growth from, or 5% growth over last year. We do see a lot of changes in membership by facility type. We do have a lot of cancellations due to changing hands, going out of business. That's very common in the pipeline world, of course. So we usually have one member will cancel and another one will come on, or they'll obtain those assets. So it's not really a new registration. They're just absorbing those assets. We have our membership verification campaign going on through the end of this month. We do have a very simple process for you to go in and verify your information that we have on file for you. It really helps make sure that the locates are getting to the right people, that we have the correct contacts on place or on file, and so that way we can contact the correct people for that. All you got to do is go into our portal, click on membership info, and it'll show you what we have on file. And if it's correct, you can simply click correct, or you can click update information, which will take you to a form to submit information. A lot of times when we run into issues with contacting members, we're contacting and finally we'll find out that the person that we have on file has no longer been with the company for several years or something to that effect. So it's very important to make sure that your information is getting where it needs to be. We also have the opportunity for you guys to provide your emergency repair contact. This is important to go out on those damage reports, so that way if the excavator doesn't really know a phone number, they can see that on that report when they process that and make that direct contact to the right person rather than getting stuck in a billing cycle or something like that. Also with the design contact, we do have, we are collecting that information. All of this can be added to the portal by submitting the form. And again, this is information that we can get to the excavator so that they can contact your design contact. Positive response, as you may know, positive response became law back in 2021, in November of 2021. We've been monitoring the data that has been coming in and seeing where we can assist our members in being compliant with positive response through our portal. The benefits of it are astronomical, with it being a one-stop shop for the excavators. Once you get into the habit of it, it's simple to use. There's a lot of great resources there available. We are working on driving down those that are not responding. So we do have pretty much everybody is now configured to respond. However, we are still seeing about 50,000 auto close due to no response. That means by the expiration date of the ticket, the member company has not provided a positive response through our system. Of course, this creates a frustration in the field. It also puts a break in the system where that communication needs to be completed. So if you have any questions on any of this, don't hesitate to ask our member services team, myself, and we can help you get the tools that you need. Member services will be going over this a little bit here in just a bit too. We are also looking at the responses that are on time. I want to just bring this to attention as well. This is looking at the work to be end date and time versus the time that it comes into our system. So a lot of you may use APIs or third-party companies to submit your information, and you may be submitting it on time in your system, but it is not being pushed to our system until later. And so therefore, if it's not pushed to our system until later, the excavators cannot see it. So make sure that it's a timely process to where those locates are getting reported and closed on time. So this is just kind of a chart over what we're seeing across the board for the response percentage. We are seeing a lot of tickets that are clear. So I encourage you guys to go through your reports, see what's clearing, why are we clearing, do we need to make adjustments to our buffers, and kind of take responsibility to help reduce that waste in the system as well. And then if you ever have any questions or need assistance, again, don't hesitate to reach out with that. Education and outreach had a great year. We did educate, as Susan mentioned, 5,269 people. This is through all kinds of events. Our webinars have been very well attended. We also put those on YouTube, and downloads are well watched as well. They're a great resource for training or just getting a refresher. We have podcasts. How many of you have heard our podcast? How many of you have been on our podcasts? We're always looking for volunteers to assist with our podcast. It's usually about 15 to 20 minutes. You get to talk with MG for a while. I understand guys have a lot of fun doing it, so it's something we enjoy, and it's something that you can listen to in the car on the road. You don't have to worry about logging in, but it's an easy download. As Susan also mentioned, we do have 4.35 engagement. So again, that information, the people are finding value in what they're hearing. Upcoming events, of course, as mentioned, we are at our 2023 Oklahoma Excavation Safety Expo, which is tomorrow. So I know a lot of you are planning to be here. We look forward to seeing you for all the sessions we have for tomorrow. We also have some 2023 safety days, regional safety days that are planned. We'll be in Lawton on April 12th. In Enid on May 3rd, we'll have a virtual day where we'll have several sessions back to back on GoTo that you can attend live and engage with us as well, or you can catch those recordings later on July 12th, and then we'll be in Tulsa on August 9th. And you can find out more details on all of this for OKIE811.com. Okay, one thing Susan mentioned and then Paige also touched on is we have an absolutely amazing OKIE811 company culture. It is something that it's an honor and a privilege to be a part of this leadership team. We have a lot of fun. Clearly, we get a lot of work done too. We support the community. We have campaign drives for supporting the United Way. This year, we knocked our goal out of the park with donating $13,894 to United Way of Central Oklahoma. We also support the Allied Arts Organization and all of the community members that they support as well, with a total donation of $6,152. Our average tenure is 10 years, so that employee retention, a lot of us have been around for a very long time. We really enjoy what we do and the people that we work with. We just recognized Pam Alonzo. She just retired at the end of the year. She celebrated 34 years before retiring with us. And again, we were named a top workplace. So it's a great place to work, great place to be. And, you know, again, driving home that point of the service that we're providing to the community. It's just, we have a purpose and it's a joy to be a part of. We do have a new website coming no later than April 1st. It's still under construction. It will be the same OKIE811.org, but we are rebuilding it, hopefully making it easier to find everything. Navigation's a little bit cleaner and will be a little bit more functional. So look forward to that coming out. I'll turn it back over to Susan. Okay, everybody still awake? Just a little bit longer. I always like to say this is when I get my crystal ball out and try to tell you what's going to happen this year and maybe even into next year. But I just really look at what's happening now and try to project where it's going to take us and where it's going to go. So this is my outlook for 2023 for Oklahoma and OKIE811. We are going to go live with the Remark Extend tickets on March 31st at midnight. If you don't know what that is, you need to find out what that is. Start asking questions, because this is these are two new ticket types that are going to come out, and your systems need to handle it and your processes need to handle it. We are going to talk in more detail on this in this education session that's following the annual meeting. It's going to be at like 3:15 to 4:15. I encourage all of you to stay and hear more about that process and what that means to you and how you need to be prepared for it. Continue to look for ways to drive down unnecessary locate notices. We constantly are hearing the frustrations from you all and from contractors about locates being late, issues with locates being wrong, you know, what all the contributing factors are to that. So we're continuing to look strategically at ways we can help with that at the one call system. Growing our board representation, like Paige said earlier, we're growing our board from 8 to 10 right now, and then we're moving from 10 to up to 16 in the future. So if your company is interested in serving in a board seat, some of those board seats will be designated to certain types of organizations. Like we're going to designate one of the board seats to a locator company. We're going to designate one of those seats to an excavator company. We want to get representation from all of our stakeholders on our board. So if you know of people who might be interested in serving on our board, please let me or any of the board members know. Begin collaborative work through our DPCC, that's that Damage Prevention Coordinating Council I mentioned earlier, to work on improvements to our Underground Damage Prevention Act. There's still a lot of confusion and a lot of area of opportunity for interpretation with our act. There's very limited enforcement of things in our act. So we are talking now through that DPCC group, like what can we do legislatively to help improve the language in our law, to help improve the interpretation of things in our law. So we're going to be working on that in the coming months and maybe have some proposed legislation for next year's legislative session. Participate in national campaigns to reach excavators that don't put in locate requests. There's a national initiative going on through Common Ground Alliance to come up with some ways that we target those, what I'm going to call rogue excavators who are not using the 811 system. They're not putting in the locate request. That's still the #1 reason for damages, excavation damages, is no locate requests. So we've got to do something to get to those people who are not putting those tickets in. We know who are putting the tickets in because we've got their information in our database. We got to reach the ones who are not putting the information in. So there's a national campaign that we're going to be participating in to try to reach those excavators that are not using the system correctly. Working nationally through our Facility Notification Center Association towards ticket standardization. This is a new association. I'm actually the board chair of this association. It's made up of other notification centers, 811 centers, as well as Canada is now getting involved in the Facility Notification Center Association. And this is an association just for 811 centers and facility notification centers. There's no operators, there's no locators, there's no vendors. It's just our groups. And the focus is on information sharing across our organizations. What are you doing? What are we doing? What can we both do better? Where can we do some standardization? I know operators that operate in more than one state, even like Phillips 66 operates in multiple states. Every state does their ticket stuff differently. And I know that has to be frustrating from an operator's perspective. So we're going to be looking, is there any way we can bring some standardization across that? Collaborating with other GeoCall P² states. GeoCall is our ticket management system that we use. And we're constantly collaborating with the other 10 states that use that system and looking at ways we can drive more self-service. If you guys need to update your information that you have on file with us, you should be able to update that yourself. You shouldn't have to go through our member services to do that. So how can we drive that self-service and make sure that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted? So with that, we're going to have an opportunity for questions here in a minute. So be thinking of what your questions are that you have. I know we shared a lot of information just now. With that, I'm going to call Nicole back up so she can give the final results of the voting for the bylaw changes and the re-elected board members.
Thank you, Susan. Great work this year. Excited to hear all of that. So there were 58,101 votes that were available from all voting members. We received 32,850 votes, which does constitute a quorum at 56%.
Okay, so the bylaw changes are now in effect. So we'll be moving forward with the increasing of our board members and the voting changes and all that good stuff.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for patiently waiting and sticking with us through the annual meeting. We have some really great information, and then we're gonna get you out of here. Yes. There we go. Can you all hear me? Okay. My name is Ashley Brown. I'm your Member Relations Specialist. Presenting today with me is Eva Donahue, your Member Services Liaison. And we have Dina Troutman online. She is your Member Relations Specialist, and she's our virtual moderator for today's meeting. We're your Member Services team. And we are going to speak about the remark and extend tickets and also provide some fantastic information about being sure that your membership is in good standing and making the most out of your membership. Okay, So first and foremost, we all know that the law requires that operators of underground facilities be members of 811, which is the statewide one-call notification center. The law also makes mention that you must keep your mapping information up to date. The only way that we can know to send you tickets for a particular area is if you register those assets with us. Next, you also need to make sure that we have accurate contact information. That's for the authorized contacts for your dispatch codes and also for the people that'll be locating. To help you understand your membership, it's good to go over the structure of your membership, which is comprised of 2 levels. So you have your membership level, which is the overall umbrella of your membership with OKIE811. So all of the contact information for the personnel that pays for your membership fees is stored at the membership level. And a membership can have more than 1 dispatch code. So some people may have separate dispatch codes per facility types, like a municipality. You know, you could have 1 dispatch code for water and a separate dispatch code for your electric department. You can also choose to have separate dispatch codes for geographic regions. So maybe you have 1 dispatch code for all of your assets in the northern part of the state, and then have a separate dispatch code for all of your southern facilities. Under each dispatch code are your authorized contacts. These are people that are authorized to make changes. Then we have your outputs, which is where we send your locate request. We do not know if you update your email address unless you tell us. So if you have an, let's say you have an old email address and maybe the city gave you a new email domain, make sure you reach out to member services so we can start sending tickets to that new email address. And also underneath your dispatch code is your mapping. So once again, you want to have a accurate, up-to-date mapping file of where your underground lines are. Eva's going to talk about that and how that relates to ticket relevancy here in just a moment. And the last thing that's under your dispatch code is a listing of the people who are authorized to positively respond in the OKIE811 portal on behalf of your dispatch. So I'm going to turn this over to Eva, who's going to go over some great information in the portal and some different components about making sure your membership is in good standing.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is Eva. I'm the Member Services Liaison with OKIE811. And as Ashley mentioned, there is a lot of information that's under your membership account. And it is critical to maintain that information because it impacts the delivery of your locate request notifications. A lot of this can be viewed in the member portal. How many in here are registered for the OKIE811 portal? Awesome, awesome. If you're not, please contact us. We'd be happy to help you get registered. There's a lot that we're going to cover today that's in the portal, but there's a lot of other good resources that are available, such as reports and stuff that you can pull for damage report tickets, your responsive reports, and then also your ticket reports. To access the portal, you can find it on our website, okie811.org, under the members section, or you can just enter dig.okie811 into your browser, and that'll take you to the portal. Once you get logged in, to review your information on file, you'll click on membership information button, and this will take you to this page we're seeing here. On the left, you'll select a code. You'll see your member codes. All the member codes is going to contain your billing information. That's that first level of the membership structure that Ashley was just talking about. It contains all your billing information, and any of your dispatch codes is going to usually start with an S or a T code. So once you select your membership button to review your information, you want to make sure and review the billing address that we have on file, as well as the email address that we have on file under the billing contact, because this is where your invoices are sent to. If you don't receive your invoices in a timely manner, that could cause you to receive late fees, your account become delinquent, possible suspension of your account. And we also notify other enforcement authorities such as like Oklahoma Corporation Commission. So it's important and critical to make sure that the billing information is up to date and current, because like Ashley said, we don't know until we hear about it from you. So if y'all have any questions on any of this, we're happy to you're welcome to give us a call. We'd be happy to kind of walk you through it too. If you need to update any of this information, you can do so by clicking that update information button here, and it'll pull up a form for you to submit any necessary changes that you need to make. These are the billing contact is the main contact listed under your membership account. These people, again, are the ones that are going to receive any kind of important billing information, as well as they're the ones that can responsible for maintaining the information on file under your membership, and then again receives those invoices from us. Then you can also view your dispatch information by selecting those S codes that I mentioned earlier, and you'll be able to see again here, this shows the dispatch information. The informational sheet has that title of whether you're looking at the membership or dispatch information. When you're reviewing your dispatch information, all this, like Ashley had mentioned, there's a lot of great information under there, and all of this is going to impact the delivery of your locate request. So it's important to keep it up to date. Whenever you review the information, make sure you're reviewing the authorized contacts that are listed under here. We'll kind of dive into that in just a second on the next slide about the different contact types and the level of access. But also you want to double check your outputs, make sure that's up to date. This is where we're transmitting all your locate request notifications. So you want to make sure that that information is current and up to date. And then also, as Ashley had mentioned, positive response configuration. These are the users that are registered to respond for this particular code. So you want to make sure that those are still current. If there's someone that's no longer maybe with the company, got an advancement in the company or something, no longer needs to be a user, reach out to us, or you can update the information here as well to remove or lock that user account if they no longer need that access. And you'll click that update information to submit those changes. And these are the different contacts that are on your dispatch account. The one-call contacts have full access to your membership. They can submit any changes for any of your membership information as well as your dispatch information. So they're also the ones that receive important notices. So like we're talking about the new update. Sorry, I have to remember it's not updated anymore. The new remark and extend ticket types. The one-call contacts are the ones receiving that important information. So you want to make sure, consider that when you're reviewing these one-call contacts. They have full access to update changes in the portal as well. So they'll have full access in the portal, including your mapping. The contacts, they're mainly your mapping contact, the one that's responsible for maintaining your mapping information on file. They should be listed as a GIS contact. Now, if they're already listed as a one-call contact, they don't necessarily need to be listed as a GIS contact because the one-call contact, they have full access. And then your locators, they have access to view the information, but they cannot necessarily update the information unless they're listed as a one-call contact or that information is approved by a one-call contact. Now, if they'll have access to review the membership information on file, but if they submit any changes through that update information form, then we will reach out to the one-call contact to get it approved before proceeding with those changes. Some additional contacts that we have on file that you'll see under your dispatch is your emergency repair contact and design contact. Our leadership team talked a little bit about this earlier. Your emergency repair contact, if you have one on file, we do encourage you to review and see if you have one on file, and if not, to please include one on there. It can be your department or a person, an individual that is responsible for repairing or communicating the repairs that are needed on if there's any damages. So this contact is going to be listed on those damage report tickets. So like Gerald, I believe, mentioned earlier, that it is required by law now that anybody that causes any damage to an underground facility is required to contact the operator as well as OKIE811. So this is just a way to help us enable the excavator to notify you as quick as possible if they haven't already notified you by the time they contacted us. And then the design contact is works similar. It's associated with the design and survey tickets. Again, this contact is going to be listed on the on the design survey notices or tickets. Those aren't necessarily locate requests. It's just a way to help those engineers get in contact with the personnel in your department or your company that can provide that mapping information so they can know where they can, I guess, put those underground services around the other lines that are already existing. And then also something new that we started adding is a third-party contacts. These are usually the third-party companies that our members use for, such as ticket management companies or locating services. We like to put them on there so we can communicate any important changes like these remark and extend ticket changes to all parties necessary. Of course, our members are first and foremost the ones that are going to be notified, but we like to include these third-party contacts as well so that we can just ensure the smooth transition and no information is lost. Service area editor. This is where you can log in. This is another part of our portal that you do have to access it differently, but you'll use the same user login and password that you log into the portal with. The surface area editor is where you can review and update the facilities that are on file with the OKIE811. And when you can use drawing tools to add or remove underground facilities for certain dispatch codes, or you can upload certain files, and you'll see the different file types that are accepted to submit these changes on your account. But it is important to review this information and update it, because this is what determines if you're going to receive a locate request notification or not. Sometimes we do get calls from members and say, I haven't received this ticket, but I know this excavator's digging near my facilities. Well, this is the first thing you probably want to look at is your mapping, because if you haven't updated your mapping, that may be why you're not receiving those notifications. And how you're registered, how you've registered your underground facilities in the service area editor also impacts that ticket relevancy that Gerald was talking about earlier. And so we're going to kind of give an example of how the registration impacts your locate request notifications. So this blue line is just a pipeline company that is registered with their centerline data. This is their pipeline here. And this is the same member as if they registered by quarter sections or legal descriptions. The light blue area around that centerline data is the 500-foot buffer that is applied to the centerline data. You can reduce that depending on your comfort level with how accurate your mapping and centerline data is. You can reduce it, but there is a buffer acknowledgement form if you decide to reduce that. And then here are 32 tickets where excavation's happening within the area. And the ones highlighted in red, there's 15 tickets. These are the only ones that will really impact that underground facility. So you can see if you're registered with centerline data, you're going to receive 15 tickets versus if you're registered by legal description, you're receiving 32 tickets. So we've kind of talked today a little bit about the workload and reduction in service areas. This is maybe where that reduction is coming from, is people are registering more with their centerline data than they are by quarter sections. So you can see that it will help with the workload and all that as well. Responding via the OKIE811 portal, it is another requirement to be a member in good standing. It is also required by law. The law has always included responding to the locate request notifications, either by going out and marking the underground facility or communicating that if your facility is not in conflict, it is your responsibility to also communicate that information to the excavator. And so effective November 1 of 2021, it did require you to respond to the notification center, which is OKIE811, through the portal. So it's important to make sure that you are registered for the portal. You can register more than one user, so you can have multiple users. They will need their own unique email address to register, and they can register, go online, and they can register themselves. We will, for all locators, because we don't want to just allow anybody to respond on your behalf. So
If they register and they're not listed as a locator or one of those one-call contacts that we talked about earlier, we will get it approved by a one-call contact before providing them that access. And then also your response, another portion, piece of the law that was added was that your response should indicate the status of the activities that you took as an operator. And then also the excavator, it now requires the excavator to review their ticket in the portal to make sure that all the operators have responded to the ticket prior to proceeding with their excavation. So the OKIE811 response system, it's a free resource. It makes it a lot easy to communicate that information to the excavator. You can add your responses through a user login, or if you use a different response system through a ticket management company or a locating service, you can upload those responses from that response system into OKIE811 portal. And this is kind of what Angie was talking about earlier. There was a little bit of a delay. If you're not responding in time, it could be because there's a delay in that upload. So you want to make sure that whoever you're working with and uploading these for you are responding on time, which is by the work date and time included on the ticket. Excavators, like we can review this information in the portal. They can pull up their ticket and review it. They also receive an email when the work date and time is complete. They'll receive an email with all the responses available. And then also there's, like I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of other features you can kind of see up above. There's a lot of other features that are available as well in the portal. So adding a response in the portal through a user login, it's really quick and easy. Once you're logged into the portal, you'll click on that add response or the response button that was shown here on the slide. And then it's going to default to the results view that here on the left. And you can see you can select multiple tickets and respond. So if you're clear, say you've received the email copy and you see that I'm clear of these 4 tickets, you can actually go and select all 4 of those tickets and then click on the add response shown here and add that response to all 4 of those tickets at that one time rather than individually. You can also click open ticket in the results view. You can only view 1 ticket at a time, of course. So you'll just select 1 ticket from the results view, click that open ticket button, and then it'll show you that view on the left where you can also add a response from the ticket view. And the ticket view has a lot of great information, of course, all the ticket information, but you can also see the mapping on the ticket view. And then once you've selected that add response button, you'll see this, this box on the left where you can select an action. You can select your response. We have several different responses, site marked, clear, other, and you want to consider what you're choosing. We have seen responses or received some feedback from some excavators and just questioning, you know, the response doesn't really match the remarks that are included in the ticket. Say they say site marked, but they chose other. Well, since there's a site marked option there, it's a good idea to go ahead and include that site marked. And then we do encourage you to include comments on your responses because it is helpful and these are records. That's another great thing about the response system is these are records of your information. So if there's any damages or anything that comes up, you'll have access to pull the responses and see, because this is information that OKIE811 is responsible for keeping as well. So just make sure that you're choosing the best option when you respond. If the information is, if the ticket information is correct, we've seen some that have clear and site marked when the information is correct or incorrect on the ticket. Maybe the mapping and directions didn't match up. We encourage you to use that correction required, not marked, so that because that's going to communicate to the excavator that the information on the ticket is incorrect, and so that will require them to make sure and contact OKIE811 back and update that information. So just kind of consider, review all the options that you have available and choose the best option. And then if you do have any correspondence with the excavator, it's good to include that in the comments. If you've decided to meet or set up a later date and time to respond to the ticket for, you know, for an emergency ticket or something, you're not able to get there by the requested time, just communicate that with them and then include that in your comments. Any questions so far? I do want to ask how many are responding through just the browser. They're on their laptop responding through they're logged in to the portal through the browser and responding. Do we have any doing that? How many are using the mobile app? Okay. All right. As I mentioned, mandatory positive response is mandatory and required by law. This is here is just to kind of show the information. This is what the responses look like in the portal on the ticket if you haven't seen that yet. These responses down here will show that the member has responded. I'll have the username, the date and time the response was added, what response they chose, and any comments if they have any comments on it. The one on the top shows that nothing next to that facility owner. And so you'll see, since there's no response, that means nobody's responded. The member hadn't responded to the ticket yet. So it's important to respond on time because if the excavators don't see this, they are, because they're now required by law to view the responses before they proceed with their excavation. So if they don't see a response, they are calling in second notices for whatever companies they're not seeing responses for. So even if you've communicated outside of the portal, it's important to go ahead and add that response in the portal as well to help reduce those second notice tickets. And then verifying membership information. We've just went through our membership verification. It's a campaign that we do each year. It is a requirement to be a member in good standing. And basically what this is just a campaign that we do each year just to encourage members to review the information on file and make sure it's up to date. It can easily become outdated with changes within the company, change in ownership of assets. So it can quickly become outdated. Like I think a few of us have mentioned that we hear it a lot that, well, that person hasn't been here in 3 years, or that's an old email, they haven't been here in forever, or we've updated the domain. It's important that this information is up to date. And so that's why we do that campaign, to ensure you're receiving those locate request notifications and can protect your facilities. Basically, this is a process that we do each year. You can update your information anytime year round. We encourage you to update it as those changes occur in the portal. And it's just a process that we do to ensure that you are in compliance and that that we can communicate that information to you as quick as possible. The verification process is very simple. Once you log into the portal, you will review each code that your user account is linked to. And then if the information is correct, we ask you to there's a button in there for you to click on just to confirm you've reviewed the information and everything looks good. Or if if you need to update any information, you'll click that update information button, and then I'll pop up a dispatch update form is what we call it, and you can submit your changes through there. The third step is to review your assets. Again, once you log into Service Area Editor, you'll review the assets for each code your user account is linked to there. And then you can actually draw in those changes, upload a file if you need to make any changes, and or if everything's correct, then communicate that information as well. And then last is, of course, whatever updates we'll receive, our member services team will process that. We'll send you back a confirmation email once those are complete. And then once all other, everything else that we've kind of covered today, to be a member in good standing, we'll send you a certificate of good standing for that. How outdated information can impact your membership. Kind of talked a little bit about it throughout this, but you can receive unnecessary locates. That's kind of the over notification portion. If you sold assets and you still have them in there in the service area editor because you forgot to remove them or whatever, you're going to receive locate request notifications for assets you no longer own or operate. If you have extended your facilities and haven't updated that, you're not going to receive those locate request notifications, which could result in damages to your facilities or possible injuries, as well as lawsuits or possible fines from the Oklahoma Corporation Commission. So we do encourage you to review this information. Incurring unnecessary fees, I want to kind of cover that. If you're receiving locates for facilities that you no longer own or operate. Remember, you're paying for those ticket notifications. So that again is why it's important to update that information, as well as the emails that are on count. And if we're transmitting a bunch of tickets, those are additional outputs that we're transmitting to that you would incur unnecessary fees for. So you can see it's very important information, and it is required to be a member in good standing, as well as required by law to make sure this information is up to date. If not, it kind of breaks the whole process. So any questions? Okay, I am going to turn it back over to Ashley. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eva. We know there was a lot of information. We got one more piece of information, and I promise we will get to those Remark Extend tickets. So paying your annual dues is in the law, and it's a requirement to make sure that your membership is in good standing. The law does state that the one call center, which is 811, should charge and collect operators for their membership fees. So there's the new member sign-up fee, and then every year you'll pay a membership fee, and that's for services that were rendered to you in the previous 12 months. So the billing process, these fees are based upon a fee schedule that's adopted by the board of directors of the corporation. OKIE811 is a nonprofit, so the fees cover operating expenses. You're billed every November. So usually that first week in November, that's when you should receive your annual invoice. And like I mentioned, we do bill in arrears. The due date for your payment is December 15th, and we do operate on a net 30, so whichever is later. Come January 1 of the following year, late fees will be assessed, and on January 15th, the late fees will be applied. So members who do not pay their fees could face suspension of their membership. They could also risk their account being turned over to collections, and enforcement agencies such as the Oklahoma Corporation Commission and other insurance groups like OMAG could be notified about your non-compliance and your non-payment. We do have several ways to submit your payment. You can go directly via the link that's on your annual invoice email. And that email does go to the billing contact that you have on file. So you want to make sure that that's up to date. You can also pay online at our website, OKIE811.org, or you can mail a check directly to the corporate office. If you pay online or pay via check, please make sure that you include your membership number and invoice number with your payment. And so once your membership fees are paid and all of the information has been verified underneath your membership for that year, and each dispatch code underneath your membership is actively providing positive response via the portal, because that is a part of the law, then your company is eligible for a certificate of good standing. And this is a great document to have because it shows that you're in compliance with the law, that you are a member of good standing of OKIE811, and you can probably use it for applying for licenses, permits, and grants. So you'll probably need it at some point during the life of your business. This certificate is good for 1 calendar year, and we would recommend that you apply for it every year. Okay, everybody, deep breath, remark and extend changes. At this point, you all should have received several emails about the changes that are coming to the OKIE811 ticket types. So we have remark and extend tickets. And what this service is going to do is clearly identify tickets where an excavator is requesting to only extend the life of the ticket, or if they need to extend the life of the ticket and have the markings refreshed. Here we're going to go through the flow of processing a remark ticket. Whenever your company receives a remark ticket, it's going to be business as usual because this excavator is indicating that the markings do need to be refreshed. So the excavator is going to contact OKIE811 to request that an existing ticket be updated. We'll ask if they're going to be excavating within the next 14 days, and they'll say yes. Afterwards, we'll ask them for their reason for updating. And then we're going to ask them if the markings need to be refreshed. At this point, they'll say yes. Then they receive a pop-up box, or it'll be read to them if they contact us over the phone, asking them to confirm that the markings need to be refreshed. And we also provide them an opportunity to update their contact info. They will agree, and then we'll transmit a remark ticket to all of the companies, all the member companies that are listed on that locate request. Right now, when excavators submit a ticket, they receive an email copy of that ticket. That's going to stay the same for the remark tickets. They will get a copy of it. Now, we do want to let you know that OKIE811 is doing its due diligence to make sure that the excavator confirms that the markings are still visible for extend tickets. We're going to go through the flow of processing an extend ticket, and you'll notice that even after they initially say that the markings are visible, we still ask them 2 more times before we process the extend ticket. So same as before, they're going to contact us and request that an existing ticket be updated. We'll ask if they're going to be excavating within the next 14 days. They'll say yes and then provide their update reason. Here, we're going to ask them if they need to have their markings refreshed, in which they will say no, because they believe that the markings are still visible. Then we have a disclaimer and some information that pops up, or it'll be read to them if they contact us over the phone, asking them if they understand that they are only requesting to extend the life of the ticket and confirm that they believe that the markings are still visible, in which they'll say yes. And then they get another one. So here's a second, or really a third opportunity for them to make sure that they only wish to extend the life of this ticket and to confirm that the markings are still present. Just like with the remark tickets, we do give them an opportunity to update their contact information as well. Once they say okay, we'll transmit an extend ticket type. So for the extend ticket type, the excavators still get a copy of the ticket, but even on that copy, there's information saying that you as the excavator have requested to only extend the life of this ticket and that you believe that the markings are still visible. Okay, so for the remark and extend tickets, positive response is required via the OKIE811 portal for both ticket types. You still have 48 hours, not including the date of notification, weekends, and holidays to provide that positive response. So for remark tickets, it's business as usual. You'll send your locator out, they'll mark or clear the lines as necessary and provide that response in the portal. But for extend tickets, there's a slight change. So the very nature of an extend ticket is that the excavator is saying that the markings are still visible. Now, some companies may choose to still deploy a locator, and that's fine. In that case, go ahead and send your locator out, they'll mark or clear the lines, and then they need to provide the appropriate positive response. But some companies might say, I know that you've been asked several times by OKIE811 if those lines are still visible, and you are saying that they are, so we are not going to send a locator. And that's fine too. For companies who are not going to send a locator because the excavator has indicated that the markings are still visible by submitting this extend ticket, we have a new positive response code created. And it says that the excavator states markings are still visible and refresh not needed. This code should only be used for extend tickets, and it should only be used if you choose to not send a locator because the excavator says the markings are still clear. Anybody have any questions at this point? Yes. So did you want to answer that, Gerald? This is Gerald, our Director of Operations.
Short answer is yes. Just as it says up there, if marks need to be refreshed, that excavator needs to contact OKIE811 and have a new ticket processed, new locate request. And it's clearly stated throughout the process and on the email that gets sent to that excavator. So great question. Thank you. Got another one? Hold on just a second. Let me get you on audio here.
Okay, let's say a road job is 6 months out. You've sent your locator out there at least 3 to 4 times on an extended ticket. There's a process to where that excavator should already know where all those lines are. Do I still have to send my locator out there?
So if they request a remark, that's going to be if they request an extend instead of a remark. So on the extend, it is the operator's choice. The excavator has said, I don't need you to come out. So as an operator, you can say, I'm going to go ahead and go, or I'm not going to go. An agreement has been reached between the excavator and the operator through this process. Now, as an operator, you can still make that call to go mark it or go ensure that those marks are good. We see high consequence areas. There may be people who are like, you know what, I'm going out every time in this area, not going to risk it. And then there are other areas that are low consequence. And depending on the facility type as well, they may choose to make a different choice.
Is there a limit to how long you can extend a ticket? Like if you've extended it every 14 days for 6 months, is there some cutoff period where we say, no, you need to do a remark?
That's a great question. Not currently. If we experience a scenario where it's clear that needs to happen, 2 things can happen. First thing, call OKIE, say, hey, this is not good. We'll admin the ticket. We'll make them submit a new one. The other thing is if we see this become a problem, then as a group, we'll agree to make those changes to say, okay, well, this can only be done this many times. But that's a great question. Thank you, Alex. I do want to put something out there, and I think there's a point of information that is crucial. While we have new ticket types here, the extend process is actually not new. We've been doing it on behalf of AT&T since 2017. It's been a premium service offering from OKIE811 to all members who chose to do that. Right now, an excavator goes into the portal and they hit update or they hit update extend. The way we have changed this process is to make it a better flow for everybody and to be more consistent with the actual messaging that's going through.
So if I'm reading this right, it says if they do an extend ticket on, say, Tuesday, but Wednesday they go out to do the work and they need the marks refreshed, that they have to submit a brand new ticket and wait the 48 or 72 hours?
Yes. Yeah. So if they do this extend ticket, now anytime the marks are removed, the law directs the excavator to call in a new locate request. That's I say call to submit a new locate request. Obviously, we would prefer they do it online, but that is already there. So if the marks are removed, it doesn't matter if the project was located yesterday, and then the excavator gets out there in 2 days, those marks are gone. Well, call in a new locate request, go through the update process for a remark. And then the time starts over for the facility operator.
I was just going to also add that we have been doing this for AT&T since what, 2017?
Yeah,
So yeah, I know you did. We're processing probably 60,000 tickets right now that are extend. So when we turn this on for everybody, that's 60,000 tickets that you can now say you're not gonna go locate.
And I also want to add, we didn't create this idea. So it was brought to us initially by AT&T because it was being done in Texas. However, Texas is not the only one that has done this. Ryan, you had a couple states that you mentioned.
USA North, USA South do it, and so does Julie.
So first-hand knowledge, he's seen this happen in other states, and he sees how effective it is. The goal is to get you guys to the locate requests that need marked, not send people to the ones that don't. So.
So someone who's doing a project that has 20 tickets for a project, do they have to go through that whole system for each single ticket?
Yes. So just like now, if you are doing a locate request for that project, and you're continuing that project, you're gonna submit an update or an update extend currently. So in the future, you'll still submit the remark or extend ticket. Now we do allow there to be time between when you do that. Of course, you can only excavate based on the life of the ticket. So whenever that expires, you don't have a ticket to excavate on. But if you were to, request a remark within 30 days of that, the system will still allow you to do that.
One more thing. On certain projects I've seen, they've called in remarks for a year and they've not needed them marked because they're waiting for the state to come in and say, yeah, you did the job right. So it may be a good idea to just leave it open because they're waiting on.
Yeah, so that's definitely a scenario where several extends are probably going to be good. There's a point. We all know that you might have this ticket open, but if the marks aren't there, you're not good to dig. Like that's what the law says. So absolutely. And we do have scenarios where people keep updates going for a long time. We do try to reach out to them and say, hey, are you actually excavating? And if they say no, we admin the ticket so they can't actually update it again. They'll have to submit a new one. There are scenarios, I think, as operators where if you guys encounter excavators who are just submitting things and they're not working in areas, reach out to us. We will gladly talk to them and then change and make sure that they have to submit a new locate request as opposed to just doing the update process, because over time the scope of work changes, right? I think if somebody's working a project for 6 months to a couple of years, the parts that they actually need located are shrinking, I would hope. So in some scenarios probably not, but many. Awesome.
On an extend ticket and a damage occurs, who's liable?
That's going to depend on a lot of parts of why the damage occurs, right? So you've made it, the excavator has made an agreement and says, I don't need you to come out. That's a part of the law that allows the excavator and the operator to make those agreements. In that scenario, if it was the marks are gone, it would be the same as if they excavated in the past where there were no marks. So if that, yeah, OKIE is not. We don't assign liability. We don't feel like that's our purview and our legal role. But I would say that if they said, I don't need you to come back out, and then they dig in that area and then they hit that line, that's going to be on the excavator because they made an agreement with you not to come out because they said it's good. Yeah, well, no, actually they made an agreement with you. The ticket is an agreement with you as an operator, not with us. We're simply a notification center. So we're the funnel of that information. And I don't know, Randy, you may want to chime in on this.
Well, I just had a question on that. If because the law says if you get a ticket, you're supposed to locate your facility. So if you have an excavator say, well, I don't need you to come out because I think the marks are okay, but they go out and damage it and we show up and there's no marks, or we don't think they're good marks, I'm going to probably come back on the operator because they're supposed to locate their facilities.
Yeah, but there's also a portion of the law that allows for that agreement to be made. And that agreement has been made for years at this point. And so, yeah, that precedent is already set. And it is provided for in the law in a way. So, yeah, and we're happy to talk with you more.
And just to like clarify too, like the extend ticket is not skirting the, 48 hours notice excluding the day of notification. Like if it's the day the ticket expires, they can't come do an extend ticket and just keep going. Like they still have to do what they're supposed to do there.
What else? Anybody else? All right. Okay, so he asked if the ticket number changed, and the answer is yes. So any ticket from OKIE811, anytime you submit a new ticket, a change of any information, a new ticket number is generated. That will happen every time. It has some fundamental information in it, date stamp specifically, and the ticket number from that specific day. So, question? All right.
And this might also be a time to get a little bit creative as you think about your operational procedures. So, the extend ticket gives you the choice to send a locator or not. So this may be a time, let's say you get an extend ticket. Maybe you don't trust the excavator, maybe you don't trust the weather, whatever, what have you. Something is making you feel uncomfortable that your markings might not still be visible. Maybe you could go out and take pictures or something like that if you didn't actually want to deploy a locator. The extend ticket gives you the choice there. If you have any further questions or like really specific scenarios, feel free to reach out to member services, call us, email us. We'd be more than happy to help. Okay, so we've already done so for most of our members, but for the members that parse or you use a separate ticket management system, you want to be sure that you are requesting to have a test remark and a test extend ticket sent to you. This change is set to go live at the end of March 2023, so at the end of this month. And if you're not prepared for those changes on the back end and you parse or use a separate ticket management company, you could experience some issues there. Like I said, most of our parsing members have already been successfully tested with. If you have any questions, you want to know if you're a parsing member, if you want to schedule some test tickets, just reach out to member services and we would be more than happy to help.